It all started at Next Warehouse in the pit village of South Emsall, where I'm from. I'm working with somebody, it's called Rick Bennett, and he runs a boxing gym. Now, Rick needed a website for his business, and I told him that I wanted to get into digital marketing. So I created him a website, charged him 50 quid. His friend needed a website, which I then did for free, to build a portfolio of work. I got a couple of other websites online, and off I went. I was turning my passion into a business. I was turning my hobby into a business. So then I got on the phone, and the first day, I rang a guy called Craig. It was maybe the 10th call, and he said, "Yes, mate, I need a website." I said, "Well, I'll do you one for 150 quid. He come and met me that week. He gave me 150 quid in cash. And I created him a website. So the first day that I got on the phone, I sold a website for money. And I carried on doing that. I got myself a house. I took out a £15,000 loan. I quit my job. And that may be a mistake. Because 3 months later, I broke my hand. And I couldn't do any work. And then I got into a bad routine. If I'm being fully transparent, my father died, and then my head were all over the place. So I never quite got back into the business, and inevitably it failed. And I did an IVA, went insolvent, and I tried to keep the house I was in, went and got a job, tried to sustain a normal life. But that was not what God had planned for me. So I created a new business, and I thought if I get 100 people to pay me £30 a month for a website to manage it for them, it'll be brilliant, because I'll use this passion that I've got to create websites, and I'll have myself a little business. And yeah, I've got there, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. So turning your passion or hobby into a business, it is possible, but it does come with its limitations and challenges. Now, I don't want to be too much of a doomer about this, and if you know about the meme stereotypes, I don't want to be too pessimistic about what I've accomplished, but I've got some scalability issues within the business. I've also suffered a little bit of a sort of breakdown, in essence, due to chronic stress, because I've had all the tests done and everything is okay. But I think I took on some projects that I couldn't execute that were above my ability and was sort of pushing me to the breaking point in terms of the pressure. I didn't quite communicate that well enough with the customers, and I took on a lot of responsibility that inevitably just led to my downfall. So I've scaled back the business a little bit. I've got the customers that, this service is beneficial for, and I've not sold a website for a couple of months. I've had a couple of referrals that have kept me going. I've designed a few small websites, but nothing major. So I've got to the point where my hobby is my business, but I'll tell you now that if you're going to quit your job, you're going to sacrifice a lot more than you realise. And my first inclination would be to tell people that actually there's a lot more to think about before you start saying, right, I'm going to turn my hobby into a business. Is it going to be sustainable long term? What's your plans for the long-term growth of the business? And also, how are you going to manage your own time? Because, yeah, you can manage your own time, but with that comes a lot of responsibility from not only managing your time, but managing everything, making this business profitable. And then when you add the stress of paying your own bills and, maybe debts and any other overheads that you may have for the business, and then saving up for the tax man and just getting used to managing that process and, the lack of work sometimes. It's very stressful to take a hobby and turn it into a business. It may also make you resent what you do, because although website design started for me as a hobby, actually at the moment it feels a little bit like I'm trapped and I'm chained to the business in which I've created. And actually, yeah, although it provides me a full-time wage, my career is stagnating. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not learning anything new, and I'm not challenged. I've I've not got a team around me. So don't undervalue your job. I mean, if you can start the business as a side project, that would always be a better idea. So we've got the journey there from, I was working in a job. I quit the job, started a business. That didn't work. I tried it again. This time it has worked, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. It is very stressful. It's hard to manage. It's hard to then automate and grow to the next level, like hiring people, being in charge of other people's wage, building something that is sustainable, pricing yourself right to customers, setting the right customer boundaries, not being taken advantage of. Business is not easy. It's not something for everybody to get into. You've got to be able to think at a strategic level and guide yourself, direct yourself on a daily basis, keep yourself motivated. There's nobody around you to tell you what to do. There's no systems in place for you to go to work and sit in your place and do what you need to do. That is the advantages of being an employee and having those systems. And inevitably, you'll start looking at, is this business scalable? Can I take this to, a 5-man, 10-man team, 20-man team? What can I do with this? Am I just going to continue to create websites? Am I going to offer content marketing? How am I going to differentiate myself from the competition? How am I going to learn the skills in order to do that? How will I balance business development as customer service and invoicing customers and cash flow? And there's a lot to think about. So before you start thinking about turning your hobby into a business, you should also think about the responsibility that comes with that. And I don't want to whittle on. I'm whittling on here, but it's the survival rate of businesses is only 10% after 10 years. After 10 years, 90% of businesses are not in business. And there's a reason for that. And if you're not setting yourself up with something that's going to last you for 10 years, then inevitably that's going to, that's going to have to close. You're going to have to shut that down. That business is no longer going to be operational. At some point, whether it's in 5 years, 7 years, if you're not setting yourself up something for life or something with an exit strategy, somebody's got commercial awareness when they're setting up a business and they've got an exit strategy and they know that they're going to sell it at a certain point. They want to get it to a certain level and then create it to be a saleable business. And if you're not doing that, which I wasn't doing that, and I'm looking more now at how can this be done from what I've got, could I create something that is saleable here? And actually it wouldn't be worth much at the moment because it's labour intensive. You would have to hire somebody in the position that I am in to do all this work, and that will probably cost you just as much as a business is bringing in. So actually there's only one full-time wage in this business at the moment, and to scale that is another job in itself. So it's not a saleable business. There's no exit strategy. There's no commercial awareness there. It was a hobby turned into a business that is now a responsibility. I've got customers that depend on me now, and that has its good days and its bad days. Because when you're suffering from a physical health issue and you're trying to get through that, whether that be anxiety induced or whatever it may be, and then you've got the pressure of your customers, it's quite unsustainable. It's not manageable. And then you want to do other things outside of your business. You run a podcast, or you want to get yourself some hobbies and actually build yourself a life. Because what you'll find as well is you can become a workaholic, and then you forget about your friends, you forget about anything else besides a business, and inevitably your life suffers because of that. There's not as many people around you. And it takes a well-developed person in order to sustain all that stuff. Your family, your partner, your friendships, your business, because inevitably the business takes up so much of it. I've not got a child, but you can only imagine that would be the next thing that would take up maybe just as much time. It is literally like having your own little baby. It's got to be nurtured. You've got to constantly be on the ball with it. And I can't say that from experience, but I can only imagine. So it may be more than having a baby, actually, particularly if you've got a family. The business feeds a family. So it must be the business and then the business has always got to come first. When you run your own company, that's just inevitable. And if you don't do these things right, setting boundaries with customers, addressing these issues, thinking about the scalability, and the long-term impact of maybe quitting a job and opening a business based on your hobby or your passion, if you don't think about this sort of stuff right now before you do it, then inevitably you're going to suffer from the chronic stress, which, you can't do any work under that mentality. When you're sort of bones raking and you don't know what, you can barely breathe, and you'll get yourself into that position by taking on too much responsibility, not pricing yourself right, and just making critical errors that are going to set you up for failure in the future. And then, however long they're not addressed, the business continues to grow in an unsustainable way, and you burn out and then maybe lose everything. I'm thankful that I've got a residual customer base, so they pay me on a monthly basis rather than paying me up front for the website, because if I wouldn't have had that, and I would have burned out and lost 2 projects in the process, and not being on the phone selling any more websites, and not having the mentality and the resilience in order to do that, then I would have gone broke, because I wouldn't have a retained customer base that pays me on a monthly basis. So think about stuff like this before you get into business. Don't rush to turn your hobby into a business. Maybe have a job on the side, but also think about your career, because before I leave you today, we're talking about some points and some lessons learned from turning a hobby into a business. Number 1, it may not survive. The company may not survive. And the repercussions of that is obviously financial, it's emotional, it's all that sort of stuff. Number 2, your social life and your family take a hit, and inevitably you've got to put more time into the business, which you've got less time for everybody else. Number 3, you've got your scalability and your long-term prospects. Like, is this really going to last 10 years? Are you setting yourself up for failure, or is it sustainable? And that's a really hard thing to know. The responsibility and the pressure of the customer relationships and the responsibilities and paying your own bills, all that sort of stuff. Setting the right boundaries, not taking on too much work, and then suffering from the chronic stress that comes with all of this, and inevitably, setting yourself up for failure. Those are some of the things that you need to be looking out for. And the main thing for me is your career stagnation. Your career is going to be stagnating while you are running a business. And it may give you a lot to talk about within another job interview or whatever it may be. But although I only set up this business in 2020, in January, actually I set up my first business and left my job to set up a company in 2017. It's took me 4 years to get to the point in which I'm at. I've worked 3 months out of that, and now I'm applying for a job. And, although I run a business, I'm now looking at my long-term future, and this has been the main thing for me. I've applied for this job because it's a content marketing role, and that's where I really wanted my career to go long term. It looks like a great company to work for. It's a software as a service. It's got the scalability. It's got all the things that my business hasn't got. It differentiated within the market. It's got a unique selling point in that they have an AI system that sort of does Google Shopping, automates the pay-per-click process for Google Shopping, and allows their customers then to get a better return on investment. And they, from their content and the website and their CEO that I've watched online, they really understand where they are in the market, their customer journey, and the problems in which they solve, and the market themselves well. And it'd be great to join that team. So, it's a case of looking at this. Like I've done it backwards. I've opened a business based on my hobby, and now I'm actually looking for a job because I miss having a team. I miss having some direction. I'm missing all that stuff. It's very hard to direct yourself on a daily basis. And this is not a sign of failure, because I have still got 60 people who pay me £30 a month for a website, and I've retained those customers over this time. So if I get a job on £18,000 a year, which, by the way, I were earning in 2013, I have took a hit on my wage. Obviously, I've got this business and it does pay me, so it's not really a hit because I'll be on 30 something thousand pound a year with the money that I earn from this company as well. But the point is, at the end of the day, your career is inevitably going to suffer because of your choice to work for yourself and go into business for yourself, because that's not always a good. It's a sidestep. It's not a career move to run your own business. It may be if you're successful, and that's all well and good. But if you're just going self-employed and you're setting yourself up and you're wanting to turn a passion into a business, I don't think you're really thinking at a high enough level to succeed in a way that is going to impress an employer too much and put you in like a managing director role. Unless you create a business that you sell for real money, for hundreds of thousands or millions of pounds, then business is tough. To say that I've survived by myself and built these websites is obviously impressive. But again, I'm going for an £18,000 a year role when I left a £24,000 a year role in 2017 to set up a business. Fair enough. This is a content marketing role and the previous roles were in sales. I get that. I've also took a career move. But if I'd have moved into marketing in 2017 and got a job, I would have had 4 years experience specifically within marketing and maybe within a company where I'd have got a promotion, and that would have probably been better for my career than the moves that I've made trying to turn a hobby into a business. There we are. I think I've got it. Going for an 18 grand a year job at 28-year-old when I were earning that at 21-year-old. Your career and the networking that you get from, a job and having employees around you, other employees and colleagues, that is not to be underestimated. So if you are working at the moment and you wish that you had a business, don't the grass is always not always greener, as they say. And of course, if you are looking to set up a business, the number one thing that I think I missed out on, and some of my biggest mistakes, aside from obviously not thinking long term enough, is that I had no co-founder, nobody to bounce ideas off, nobody to work with that complemented my skills, nobody to share the ups and downs with. So it makes it a very lonely journey. I've got no unique selling point, and I work in a very oversaturated market, which is labour intensive, and I didn't really want to solve a big enough problem. It was very much focused on me and being able to survive with a skill that I've got, rather than the wider implications of the market and having the commercial awareness to see the larger problem and the solution to that problem, to really make big money and create something that can sustain over time, and that is in a hyper growth market. So I've created a business that's already in a saturated market where I've got no unique selling point that anybody could create a business selling websites at £30 a month. The only thing that differentiates me is the level of service I provide, which obviously I'm always going to have to be there and, provide that personal service. So it's not scalable. I couldn't have 200 customers. I would be severely burned out every day. It's not scalable. So I didn't think about this stuff. I got caught up too much in my own wage and what I needed and what I'd be happy with and thought I would be happy with in terms of being able to survive. And, if I get £2,400 a month after tax, it's sort of double what I earn in a job, so it's brilliant. No, actually, when you're getting into business, it's fierce, it's competitive. And when you do get to that point, you're going to have the natural attrition of losing customers, having to replace them. So then you've got a revolving door of customers where 3 people leave you every month because inevitably they don't need the website anymore, the business goes under, whatever the case may be, you can't service them anymore. These things happen. I lost 2 customers this month, and it just happens. They text you and they say, I'm sorry, but I don't need my website anymore. I've suffering some problems with my business. It's not working out. And what can I say to them? How much do I owe you? Well, you don't owe me nothing, mate. I'm not going to charge you for taking down your website. You've clearly already got problems, so I'm not going to add to them. It's a hard game. Don't give up. You can turn your hobby into a business, but it will be harder and take longer than you think. And it may actually not be what you want. You may start to resent your hobby. Why not keep it as a hobby, or try to make that hobby some form of career? So for me, rather than wanting to have my own website design agency, which I've got now, and again, not that I resent the work, but I certainly don't want to get on the phone to sell another website, because let's think about it. It takes me about 20 hours on the phone to sell one website, and then I've got to create it, which takes 10 hours, and then I've got to manage it on a monthly basis, which takes about an hour a month. So to do all that for £30 a month is just not sustainable when I already earn £2,000 a month. It's not a big enough chunk to add to the money that I already earn for me to be incentivized to do it. And that's just the truth. So I either higher my price and, create a more sustainable business that's going to motivate me to get back on the phone and want to do this, or I get a job in a company that is scalable, that have already thought about this with a, large team or a larger team or a startup, whatever it may be, with an executive team, a management and a sales team and a marketing team, and be part of that marketing team in a content marketing role. So I do hope I get this job at this software as a service ad platform. It looks great. I'll keep you updated, and don't underestimate your job. I come on here and I say you should run your own business and you should do this and you should do that, but actually being able to grow and change your mind and not being too fixed on, I've got a business and this is all I need. That's where you need to be. You need to be balanced. You need to be able to sort of look at things from both sides. And today, I will tell you that actually having a job and running your business as a side business and having a side income and letting that money sit there and being able to reinvest that money rather than just paying it all yourself. Because as soon as you turn your hobby into a job, you got to pay yourself. So then you got to at least start to earn £1,200–1,400 a month. And then I'll tell you what, when you do earn £2,000 in a month, you'll spend it on yourself. You'll pay that to yourself because you think that you deserve it. I've done all this work, so I'm building this business, so why not treat myself? I've done without for all these months, because you do a 6 to 12 month period where you're barely earning anything, and then in the 16th month you might earn £2,400, and you'll probably spend all that on ice creams and takeaways and Deliveroos and going out and spending it because you spent so much time building the business that you want to treat yourself. And then you start to treat yourself, and inevitably the business suffers a little bit, and you have a downturn, and things aren't going your way, and you start to lose sight of where you want to be. Once you hit the goal of where you wanted and you've got what you want, well, what are you going to do then? Are you going to destroy it? Or are you going to set a new aim and, want more all the time? Because the problem with, I suppose, capitalism and our system is that it relies on constant growth. And why is that? Is it sustainable? So there's all these questions of, it's a human will, isn't it, to want more and more and more. And to live is to grow. And this is what we do when we want to grow as business, we want to grow whatever it may be. So you need to focus that energy, which is why I've got a podcast, which is why now I'm looking at my career and thinking about maybe getting in with this company as a content marketing executive and putting 2 to 3 to 5 years into a business, into somebody else's company to see where I can grow in that, in my career. Maybe I get promoted, and it, gives me a good foundation, a good stable foundation for a career in content marketing, rather than, the sort of going into my 30s, running a business, which has always got the risk of, I suppose, going to zero at some point, or, like if I just run this company for 2 years, what more experience am I going to have than I've already got? Like I feel as though I've hit a plateau now. I either concentrate on this business and I try and take it full throttle and grow a big agency, but I don't want to just become a traditional marketing agency, and I don't think I've got a business with a unique selling point, with enough market differentiation in order to really scale this. So I'm at a crossroads. So if you are looking to hire a digital marketing guy for your firm, I'm in Leeds. No, I'm only kidding. I'm not going to advertise myself on here for a job. I'll get on Indeed. I'll get on these places and I'll look for organisations in which I think that I can provide something and also grow with them and learn something from them. It's a, mutual process. So maybe if we do another podcast. I've already done one when I first started about how to get a job. If you need to know how to get a job or you're struggling to get a job at the moment, go and listen to that, or throw me a message and I may be able to help you out, or a graduate recruiter, so I know a lot about the job market. So by all means, as long as this don't go viral and I get 1 million messages, which I'm about 99 million% that it won't, if you are listening to this and you do want a job, or you're thinking about turning your hobby into a business or turning your hobby into a career, because by all means, I weren't a marketer 3 years ago, and now I'm looking at a great marketing role, content marketing role, and I was writing blogs from 12-year-old. So I'm trying to turn my hobby into both a business with a website design stuff, which again I was doing at 12-year-old, and a career. Turn your hobby into a career, into a business. Just make sure that you enjoy what you do, and make sure that when you do turn your hobby into a career, that you don't start to resent your hobby, because that is a big risk. That is one of the biggest risks, because there's too much pressure on having to do it and, build a business out of it and make it profitable, that it actually becomes a strain and you lose the passion and the love that you had for something. And, that is not a great thing to do, really. It takes the allure from it, and you no longer want to learn more about it and grow with it. And that's truthfully where I am with website design at the moment. I actually don't want to create another website. I feel as though it's just, I'm stagnating. And if you do turn your business, your hobby into a business, your career is going to stagnate. So thanks a lot for your time. I hope this has been helpful to somebody out there. Again, 90% of businesses fail within the first 10 years. And by building a business by yourself, without co-founders, without a long-term aim, without something that really differentiates you within the market, without an exit strategy and a plan to sell the business eventually, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you've not got those things, a co-founder and a real vision to work towards for the long term, you're going to fail, you're going to burn out, because once you achieve your aim, you're going to get bored of it. And once we've built something, we inevitably just want to destroy it. And it's human nature to do that. Think about when you're playing Lego and you built what you want to build. What's the next thing that you're going to do with it? You're going to knock it down and build something else. And it's just human nature. Don't fault yourself for it. But can you develop a vision that's going to sustain you over 10 years? Are you a visionary? Are you the next Steve Jobs? If you don't think that you can do that, then don't get into business to business. Don't start yourself a business to business organization. It's just not going to work for you. Or even anything that can't be scaled. I like baking. I like doing this. Well, you're not going to like baking when you're losing money on what you're selling because you've not priced your margins well enough. This is business. If you're not priced, because you can't get no customers, your customer acquisition costs are superseding how much you actually earn from the margins on your products. What are you going to do then if you can't advertise and get a return on your investment? If you can't market the business profitably, what are you going to do then? How are you going to grow it? Are you going to go around with flyers? Are you just going to sell them to your friends? How is this going to be sustainable long term? So yeah, hope you're well. Hope I get this job. Just putting it out there. If I don't, I'll apply for some more. I think it's time to get back into career mode and stop thinking about myself and, I need to just work for myself, because that is maybe one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. You don't think about the opportunity costs of your actions and what it's actually costing you to be self-employed, rather than actually being in a job and sustaining a career for the long term. Thank you for your time. It's been half an hour. I'll leave it there, rattling on. It's about turning your hobby into a business. Do you want to do it now? Now you've heard all my bloody, moaning for the last half an hour. If you've listened to this, you're crazy, because, let's be honest, it's a saturated market, content, and how have you got half an hour to listen to me? You've got too much time on your hands. You may need to get a job. All the best.